the world doesn't end with a bang. It ends with a wet, heavy thud. June 18th, 1815. You are standing in a field of rye near a nondescript ridge in Belgium. The rain has been falling for hours, turning the earth into a gray, clinging paste that sucks at your boots. You breathe in, and your lungs fill with the acrid, sulfurous bite of black powder. The air is so thick with smoke, you can't see the man 5 paces to your left. Then it happens. There is no whistle, no warning. Just a sudden, violent displacement of the atmosphere. A 12-pound iron sphere, screening through the fog, finds your rank. It doesn't hit you directly. If it had, you wouldn't be here to listen. It strikes the mud 3 feet in front of you, ricochets with a sickening crunch, and catches your right thigh. You don't fall. You are launched. Time fractures. You are staring at the sky, wondering why the clouds look like bruised fruit. There is a strange phantom heat where your leg used to be. You try to sit up, but your body refuses the command. Your nervous system is screaming, but the sound hasn't reached your brain yet. You look down. Your trousers are gone. In their place is a landscape of shredded red wool and white, jagged ivory. Your femur, the strongest bone in your body, has been snapped like a dry twig. The marrow is exposed to the freezing rain. You watch, detached, as a dark, pulsing fountain of blood begins to soak into the Belgian clay. This is the shock of the hit. Your heart is racing, trying to pump life into a limb that is no longer there. I am not here to tell you about the glory of the British Empire or the genius of Napoleon. I am here in the muck with you, watching the light fade from your eyes. History likes to talk about the great victory. I talk about the 50,000 men left rotting in this field. But today, something is different. Today, the butcher is coming for you before the crows do. In any other war, this would be the end. You would lie here for 3 days, waiting for infection or a scavenger's knife to finish the job. But through the roar of the cannons, you hear a new sound. It is high-pitched, frantic. The rattling of wooden wheels and the desperate, lathered breath of horses being driven into the mouth of hell. This is the Ambulance Volante, the flying ambulance. For centuries, the wounded were an afterthought, a burden. But Dominique-Jean Larrey, the chief surgeon of the French Imperial Guard, had a different vision. He realized that a soldier's life is a ticking clock. If you don't stop the bleeding in the first hour, you are just fertilizing the field. He designed these light, 2-wheeled carriages to gallop onto the active battlefield, snatch men from the literal line of fire, and bring them back to the saws. Rough hands grab your shoulders. You are hoisted onto a canvas stretcher. The movement sends a lightning bolt of pure, unadulterated agony through your hip. You scream a thin, reedy sound that is swallowed by the mud. You are slid into the back of the carriage. It's cramped, dark. It smells of old blood and wet horsehair. Opposite you sits a young drummer boy, his face a mask of black soot. He has no hands. He is staring at his stumps with a look of quiet, profound confusion. Beside him, an officer clutches a belly wound, his intestines spilling through his fingers like a handful of wet silk. The carriage lurches forward. Every rut in the road, every crater from a fallen shell is a fresh violation of your shattered leg. You feel the bones grinding together. Crunch, slide, grind. This is the price of progress. Before Larry, you died in peace. Now, you are kept alive just long enough to experience the true limits of human endurance. The ambulance is a bridge between the battlefield and the operating table, and the crossing is a ritual of pain. If you have the stomach to stay in this carriage with me, to see what happens when the doors open at the surgeon's tent, hit the like button now. It is the only coin that pays for the passage. If you turn away now, the mud takes you. Stay. Watch the birth of the A. The carriage stops. The doors fling open, and the transition is a physical blow. You have left the cold gray world of the rain and entered the industrial grinder. The surgeon's tent is a cathedral of heat and iron. The air inside is 10 degrees warmer, thick with the steam of boiling water and the overwhelming metallic stench of opened bodies. You are lifted out. You are no longer a soldier. You are a case. They lay you on a table. It is a simple wooden structure, but it is slick. You find yourself sliding toward the edge because the wood is saturated with the fluids of the 50 men who came before you. Someone has thrown fresh sawdust on the floor to soak up the overflow, but it is already a deep, clotted crimson. A man stands over you. He doesn't look like a healer. He looks like a blacksmith. He wears a heavy leather apron that is stiff with dried gore. His sleeves are rolled up, revealing forearms corded with muscle and stained to the elbows in mahogany. This is the triage. This is the most terrifying moment of your life. Larry doesn't look at your face. He doesn't ask your name. He doesn't care if you have a wife in London or a mother in Paris. He puts his hand on your wound. He feels the temperature of your skin. He looks at the way the bone has splintered. In his mind, he is performing a cold mathematical calculation. Before this, the important people were treated first. The counts, the generals, the men with gold on their shoulders. Larry changed the world by declaring that the only hierarchy that matters is the hierarchy of the grave. To your left, a man with a shattered jaw is moved to a pile of straw in the corner. He is expected. He will be given a sponge of vinegar and left to die in the dark. To your right, a man with a flesh wound is told to sit and wait. He is delayed. Larry's eyes meet yours for a fraction of a second. He sees the pulsing of your femoral artery. He sees the gray pallor of your skin. Immediate, he barks. The ritual begins. There is no anesthesia, no ether, no sweet sleep. There is only a shot of cheap brandy that burns your throat and a leather strap. Bite, a young assistant whispers, shoving the salt-stained leather into your mouth. 4 men lean on you. They pin your shoulders. They sit on your good leg. Larry picks up a Catalani long, double-edged knife. He doesn't hesitate. With one swift, circular motion, he cuts through the skin and muscle down to the bone. The scream is trapped in the leather. The pain is not a feeling. It is a sound, a white light that fills your entire vision. The blood sprays. It hits Larry's apron with a rhythmic splat. He ignores it. He uses a tenaculum, a sharp metal hook, to snag the pulsing arteries. He pulls them out of the flesh like he's threading a needle and ties them off with silk thread. He is fast. He has to be. If he takes more than 2 minutes, you will die of shock right there on the table. Then comes the saw. The sound is what stays with you. It isn't a clean cut. It is a rhythmic, guttural rasp. Shrirt, shrirt, shrirt. You feel the vibration in your skull. You feel the heat of the friction. The surgeon's arm moves back and forth with the precision of a master carpenter. And then the resistance vanishes. A heavy, wet sound hits the bucket beneath the table. Thump. That was your leg. That was the limb that carried you across Europe. It is now just refuse, destined for a mass grave. Larry takes a needle and begins to pull the skin flap over the stump. He stitches you together as the world begins to turn gray. You are floating. The heat of the tent is fading. You have survived the saw, but now you must survive the recovery. The tent flap is kicked open. A gust of freezing Belgian rain swirls into the room, momentarily clearing the steam. A colonel, resplendent in a blue coat dripping with gold lace, is carried in by 2 orderlies. His arm is bloodied, though he is standing. He is shouting, his voice full of the arrogance of a man who has never been told no. Out of the way. I am Colonel de Beaumont of the 4th Hussars. I require the chief surgeon immediately. The orderlies move toward your table, intending to shift your mutilated, half-conscious body to the floor to make room for the blood. This was the law of the world. The peasant makes way for the Lord, always. But Larry doesn't move. He is finishing the final stitch on your stump. He doesn't even look at the colonel. The table is occupied, Larry says, his voice a flat, dead rasp. Occupied by a dog, the colonel screams, pointing at you. He is a common foot soldier. I am a commanding officer of the Empire. Move him. Larry turns slowly. He holds up his hands. They are dripping with your blood. He looks at the colonel not as his superior, but as a biological specimen. In this tent, Larry says, stepping toward the officer, there are no empires. There is only the wounded. This dog has a shattered femur and has lost half his sanguine volume. You have a flesh wound from a carbine. You will sit in the mud and wait your turn like every other man, or you will bleed out in the rain. Your gold does not coagulate blood, Colonel. Sit down. The silence in the tent is absolute. The orderly's frozen. The colonel looks at the pile of limbs under the table, at the boots still attached to feet that will never march again, and he sees the truth. In the face of the saw, we are all just meat. He sags onto a wooden crate, his face pale, stripped of his rank by the sheer, brutal equality of trauma. This was the birth of the modern world. The idea that a life is a life, regardless of the cloth that covers it. Larry wasn't just a surgeon. He was a revolutionary who used a scalpel to dismantle the aristocracy. The history books want you to remember the names of the generals. I am here to remember the names of the men they left on the tables. If you want to see the secrets they tried to bury in the sawdust, subscribe. Do not leave me to walk these wards alone. You are moved from the table. You are carried to the recovery area barn nearby, where 300 men are packed together like cordwood. The smell of gangrene is already beginning to rise. But you are alive. You have been sorted into the pile of survivors. The sun sets over Waterloo, but the work in the tent continues for 3 days and 3 nights. Larry performs 200 amputations in 24 hours. His arms become so swollen from the repetitive motion of the saw that his assistants have to cut his sleeves open. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't eat. He just sorts. We look back at 1815 and shudder at the brutality. We see the leather strap and the blood-stained apron, and we feel superior. But we forget that every time an ambulance sirens through a modern city, every time a paramedic makes a split-second decision in an ER, the ghost of Dominique-Jean Larrey is standing there. He taught us that chaos can be organized, that even in the heart of an apocalypse, there can be order. But the triage never truly ended. It just became invisible. Today, we don't sort by rank or by blood. We sort by insurance, by geography, by the cost of the medicine. The butcher is still making choices. He's just wearing a suit now instead of a leather apron. You survived Waterloo. You returned home with a wooden leg and a story that no one wanted to hear. You lived because a man dared to treat a peasant like a king and a king like a patient. But ask yourself this: if you were the surgeon and you had 1 minute, 1 saw, and 2 dying men, how would you choose? Would you look at the face, or would you only look at the wound? The sawdust is still wet. The choice is yours. If you had to choose between saving a young soldier with a family or an old general who could end the war, who gets the table? Tell me your price in the comments. Let's see how many of you would make it out of the tent